Okay, what the heck is this? Honey, where you at? What is all this?
What?
What do you got going on here? That's a bunch of pumpkins.
Yeah, you make a lot of things with pumpkins. You know, they're having sales right now after
Okay.
Thanksgiving, and yeah, I guess I got a little bit much pumpkin here. So I'm thinking we can do a little bit of pumpkin series of recipes.
Okay.
Because, you know, you don't have to just have pumpkin items just around Thanksgiving, right?
Right.
So I think we'll come up with some recipes we can share with everybody. Anyway, I think we can come up with some spicy goodness here.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about all the spice you need. What I'm going to start with is some pumpkin squares.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of along the line of pumpkin pie, but a little bit different crust. You don't have to do a pie crust.
Right.
So we'll start with that, and we'll be sharing some more in future videos.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by Wiley and Company today. Let's get into it then.
Alright, so for these pumpkin squares that we're going to make, it's a three-part process, but each part's pretty simple to do. If you ever made pumpkin pies, this is kind of along the lines, but we're going to have a different kind of crust on the bottom of them. So the first thing we're going to start with is the crust. And the recipe that we're going to put up is for a 13 by 9 by 2 pan, but I'm going to do an 8 by 8 square pan for the video. So the first thing that we're going to do, let me back up. I'm going to half the recipe since it's going to be the smaller pan. So the first thing we're going to put in this bowl is a half a cup of flour. Then we're going to put a fourth a cup of brown sugar packed. And then you need a fourth a cup of quick oats. Kind you buy, you know, to make for breakfast. And then we're going to need a fourth a cup of butter, softened. And that would be like a half a stick if you were measuring it that way. Okay. So instead of a spoon, I'm going to use a fork. And we're just going to incorporate all that and make a rough kind of crust for the bottom. I like to use a fork when you're incorporating butter and flour and other ingredients to make crusts. Like if you're doing a cheesecake or trying to think of some other crust that I do. So you just want to get that incorporated, almost like a combined to it's like a dough. It's almost like a cookie dough. Okay, that looks pretty good. So this is my 8 by 8 pan, and you want to grease it, and since I had to use a stick of butter because we're going to be using some butter for the topping, I'm just going to take this and grease it. You can use whatever you like to do, cooking spray, lard, tallow. If you use lard, I'd use leaf lard because it doesn't leave so much of a lard flavor, but this will be perfect. You'll just grease that really well. Okay. So what we're going to do is just put this crust. Let me get one of my spatulas. Look, I got this cute little container to put my spatulas and stuff in. looks like I got a little butter there. I didn't get all the way incorporated, but that's okay. We're going to press this into the bottom of the pan. Basically, this is like a layered type dessert. If you have a little bit of butter, you can just, still needs incorporated, just push it in. It'll cook. We're going to bake this first. And that other butter, the butter that I greased, is not wanting to stick to it, which is good, I guess, when we try to take it out of the pan. So just spread it out as evenly as you can. And if you didn't want to do this in a pan like this or a rectangle pan, you could also do it in muffin tins and the muffin holders. And make individual ones like that. So this recipe was given to my mom from a family friend when we were all, their kids and us all grew up together, and we spent a lot of time. We went to church together. And I remember when she brought it over, it was just, I love it. I love anything that's got pumpkin. We're going to bake it for 15 minutes at 350. And while that's baking, we're going to go ahead and make the filling. So for the filling, we're going to take a half a can of pumpkin. It says on the total recipe, if you're doing a full size, a can, which is a pound, this is only 15 ounces. So they must have reduced the sizes of the cans a little bit. So we're going to do maybe a little more than a half. Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to put, it says on the full recipe, 1 can of evaporated milk. We're going to use 6 ounces. Three-fourths a cup of sugar on the full recipe, so we're going to do half of that. And then to that, we're going to add 1 egg. And then for our spices, a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice to substitute, or I don't have any, so I actually measured out. And it's 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, 1/8 teaspoon of cloves. You need 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. So I just basically put it all in this dish and we'll pour it in. And I believe that is it. Yeah. Take that part out. Okay, so then we're going to just stir this all up. And actually, I'm going to bring out my whisk. And if you want to put this in a mixer or use a hand mixer, feel free. I just tend to do stuff manually with whisk and spatulas. You want to scrape the sides good and get all the extra. Okay, that looks pretty good. So Our crust is almost done in the oven. When it comes out, we're going to pour this in there. Alright, here we go. This is baked for 15 minutes. This is the crust. And now we're going to add the filling and bake that. I'm looking for my spatula. So I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Just make sure. And all you want to do is pour that right on top. Alright, and my other little mitt here. You just want to take it and just fill in that corner so it looks pretty even. So we're going to bake this for 20 minutes. Alright, so our last part of our pumpkin squares is the topping layer, and the filling layer is about done in the oven. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up. It's just 3 ingredients and pretty simple. So you want some pecans. If you don't like pecans, you could use walnuts or whatever nuts you prefer. So we need a tablespoon of butter, and I think I have a little more than a tablespoon, so I'm going to take a little bit out of here since we're only doing half the recipe. And then you're going to need a 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. And then you're going to need a 1/4 cup of chopped pecans. And I've already pretty much chopped them up in our little chopper. Just needed to give them another little chop there. And we're going to need a 1/4 cup. I mean, if you go a little over, like I just did there, it's not a problem. And we're just going to take our fork and incorporate all this. And when our squares come out of the oven, we're going to put this on top and bake it for another 15 to 20 minutes. It just gives it a nice additional flavoring to the layers. This is a great little topping that you could add to muffins, cakes, things like that. Alright, that's it. It's all incorporated, and we'll be back when the squares come out of the oven. Alright, so I just took the crust and filling layer out of the oven. It's been baking for about 20 minutes. And it's not all the way set. You can see it's still a little wiggly in the middle, but that's okay because we're going to add the pecan topping, and it's going to bake for another 15-20 minutes. So basically you just need to, I was going to try to be neat about this and do it with a spoon. Sometimes I just use my hands. Okay, I'm using my hands. Don't worry, I washed them good. It's just easier to crumble it on there. And I mentioned earlier you can use this type of topping for muffins or cakes, but also you could put it on top of a pumpkin pie if you want to add a little to your pumpkin pie. Just try to get it evenly distributed. And I'm actually going to add a little bit more nuts to it because we like nuts. And I'm not going to put the brown sugar, I'm just going to sprinkle them. Just for a little added nut flavor. That one came out a little bit too much. Alright, so we're going to pop this back in the oven for about 15-20 minutes. We'll check it about 15 minutes, see if it's all the way cooked. Usually you can check it with a toothpick and it'll come out clean and you'll know it's good to go. Alright everybody, this has been in there for 20 minutes, so I'm going to check it with the toothpick and see how we are. I can tell on the sides it's coming out clean. The middle I thought was a little, no, it's coming out clean. So basically it did take the full 20 minutes for it to bake. So that's about it. We'll let it cool, and then I'm going to cut into it and show you what it looks like when you take it out of the pan. It needs to cool completely because you want it to come out, not breaking apart. So we will be back when it cools, and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright everyone, so we've let this cool down. It's still a little warm on the center part, but I think we should be able to cut it. I'm going to try to cut it with a spatula first and see if we can get it out. Probably could just cool it a little bit longer. I think we can get it out. Sometimes I put it in the refrigerator overnight because it's still a little bit not set up, but there it is. And then of course we're going to add some whipped topping. Ah! I was trying to do a dollop there. That was a foul. But for tasting purposes, it's okay. So here we have it. Pumpkin squares. We're going to try it out. I need to step back here a little bit. So good. If you like pumpkin pie, this is another variation. It's kind of got like a cookie crust to it. It's so good. I highly recommend you trying this. And with the cloves, it's a little bit different taste. I think regular pumpkin pie, you usually put nutmeg, but the cloves just makes it even a little bit more spicier. I think Wiley's hanging around. Anyhow, this is the first in our series of pumpkin recipes. As you saw early on, we have a whole bunch of pumpkin, so I've got to make recipes with it. So give it a try, and thanks for stopping by, and we will catch you on the next one. God bless.